Recent reports, including one from Adam Schefter, have brought Aaron Rodgers into the conversation surrounding the New York Giants quarterback situation. However, Dan's take on the matter sheds a critical light on the potential fit, branding it as a desperate move for the Giants. While he acknowledges that the options for the team at quarterback are slim, he suggests that Rodgers may not be the perfect answer for a franchise with larger needs. The reality for the Giants, as Dan points out, is that the clock is ticking on general manager Joe Schoen and head coach Brian Daboll. If they are to meet the high expectations placed upon them, they must find immediate success. Rodgers could indeed offer the best chance to win early in the season, but Dan also speculates that a player like Jackson Dart from Ole Miss or Jalen Milroe from Alabama might serve as better long-term options if drafted in the second round, though Dart's projected draft stock is rising fast. What's concerning here is the expectation that the Giants must win games in the first 2 months of a season, essentially making their regular season shorter than that of other teams. With the looming threat of job security for the coaching staff, this tight window to perform raises questions about whether such an approach could backfire. If the Giants fail to meet the standard early on, it could set off a domino effect, not just for Rodgers but for Daboll and Schoen, whose jobs could be on the line by November. This pressure for early success isn't isolated to New York. Dan brings up the Miami Dolphins as another franchise where the head coach and GM are under immense pressure. Coach Mike McDaniel and GM Chris Grier are heavily invested in quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, and while the Dolphins have shown flashes of promise, the consistent inability to beat winning teams and lack of success in colder environments could spell the end for McDaniel and Grier. If Miami doesn't produce by mid-season, a firing could be imminent. Similarly, the Indianapolis Colts, under the leadership of Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard, face a critical period, especially considering they invested a top-5 pick in quarterback Anthony Richardson. Although it's still early in Richardson's career, Ballard's 8 years in charge, with only 2 playoff appearances, has left many questioning whether the Colts' current leadership is the answer. Should they fail to show signs of growth, the Colts may also find themselves looking for new leadership before November. Dan further explores the notion of mid-season coaching changes with other teams, even those not initially pegged for such scrutiny. Zach Taylor of the Cincinnati Bengals is highlighted as someone whose job could be in jeopardy with a poor start to the season. A sub-.500 record by November could be enough to see Taylor, who has had varying degrees of success with the Bengals, leave the organization. Similarly, Jonathan Gannon, who is under pressure to show results in Arizona, could also find himself out if things go awry early in the season. Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns is another name that has been thrown into the mix, although the situation is more complicated. Stefanski has proven his coaching chops with 2 Coach of the Year awards, and his success has largely been tied to the performance of his quarterbacks. However, with the looming specter of the Deshaun Watson contract hanging over the franchise, it remains to be seen whether the ownership and front office will have the patience to let Stefanski continue, especially if things don't go as planned. Even though many see him as a capable coach, if the Browns fail to perform, especially with a high-profile quarterback under center, it could spell the end for Stefanski. One name that has raised eyebrows in recent discussions is Kyle Shanahan of the San Francisco 49ers. Although the job security of Shanahan and GM John Lynch doesn't seem to be in immediate jeopardy, the rise of Brock Purdy and the significant financial commitment to quarterback play means the 49ers must perform at a high level. Purdy has shown promise, but if he regresses, the 49ers could find themselves at a crossroads, especially given the high stakes involved in the quarterback position. If the 49ers' championship window begins to close prematurely, questions could arise about Shanahan's future, particularly as his team has been unable to win the big game, despite consistent playoff appearances. Lastly, there's the intriguing situation in Dallas. Dan highlights the unpredictable nature of coaching under Jerry Jones, particularly with Mike McCarthy at the helm. With McCarthy having no guarantees beyond the season, Dan suggests that it wouldn't be surprising if a change were made sooner rather than later. This uncertainty only grows as Jones' patience wears thin with less than stellar results. In particular, a lack of success could turn the spotlight toward a potential replacement from within the organization, or even figures from outside, such as Deion Sanders, Jason Witten, or Bill Cowher. The coaching carousel at the Cowboys could spin out of control, but as always with Jones, patience could ultimately win out, despite public pressure. The situation remains dynamic, with Dallas poised for a crucial season that will determine not only McCarthy's future, but the overall direction of the franchise. As the NFL offseason progresses, these coaching situations and the pressure mounting on key franchises will undoubtedly keep fans on edge, with multiple teams needing to prove themselves early in the season to stave off midseason changes. The landscape of the NFL could look dramatically different by Thanksgiving.